Okay, we're going to make a shift to our next speaker, who is Lisa Parrelli. Some of you may know Lisa. She is a culinary expert and a wellness coach. Her great gift is her deep understanding of the power of food to heal. She's also been the executive director of the Westport Chamber of Commerce, and she's been the executive chef for Nourish Bridgeport, which is a nonprofit food ministry in our neighboring town. Lisa's going to spend a few minutes with us helping us deepen our understanding of the importance that the gut plays in our overall health and the food decisions that we make, as their impact can really transform the trajectory of health issues that we may be experiencing. So please welcome Lisa Parrelli.
Thanks, Mark. I don't know about all of you, but I feel like I can both run a marathon and take a long winter's nap after Hillary. It's funny because having to follow Hillary is a little stressful. I've never met her before, but she is so on target with so much that I believe and information that I didn't have that aligns with what I teach, and I might even start to cry because it was really beautiful. So I am so in gratitude, and it's so funny because a big part of what I teach with food, healing our bodies, begins with gratitude. So I have some questions to ask, and you can show hands or you can just nod your head. But one question I have, which I think is an interesting question, is how do you make a dark room light? And this is a question that a colleague of mine often asks a physician, and it gave me pause for a moment. And I won't ask you to answer, but I'll give you some of my answers. By lifting the blinds, by lighting a candle, by turning on the lights. And when we displace the darkness, we actually make room for light. And that is really the place of wellness, right? It's not necessarily removing things, but it's about adding positive, and naturally you expel the toxins in your body and in your life. And it's so funny because I talk about forgiveness and how forgiveness displaces anger and makes room for love. And I think one of the things that we don't do well as women is love our bodies. And I attended a workshop a couple years ago. And one of the things that we had to do was thank our bodies. And one of the traumas that I went through was 2 emergency C-sections to deliver my beautiful daughters. And in that trauma, for anyone who's had a C-section, your body doesn't really go back to the pre-body or pre-birthing stage. No matter how much weight you lose or gain, you always have this little tummy. And now that I'm postmenopausal, it's a little bit bigger. But one of my issues was this little roll of my stomach. And, you know, before I had children, I never did a sit-up. I was graced and blessed with a flat six-pack. I just didn't do anything for it. But now, no matter what I do, I can't get there. So I'm sitting in this room, and I had to make peace with the things that I didn't love about my body, ironically, because I teach how to heal yourselves, and now I'm being taught. And what I realized was that in the trauma of having an emergency C-section, not once but twice, that my body birthed my two amazing daughters. And if I could do it all over again, I would do it exactly the same way. And I am so proud that my body was strong enough to be able to birth these daughters of mine. I am so proud that my body allowed me to carry them when I was in pain. I am so proud of my body that has allowed me to move forward and play with them and attend to their needs and serve them. So in telling you that story, I want you to look at your body in your head and think about the journey that you have taken and recognize that you have a beautiful body, right? We have a body that has survived so much and thrives by the way we look at it, right? So grace is a big part of that. And well-being is adding healthy habits. And when Mark and I met, I don't know that we initially thought that I would be standing here speaking to you. And he kept asking me, so what can you talk about? And I'm like, I could talk for hours. I could listen to Hillary for hours, but I know I could talk for hours. But healthy foods are, again, the light that we enter into the dark room, right? Healthy foods empower us and give us energy. And I don't even like to use the word food so much, although I love this definition of food. And I don't know if you think about it, but food is what we grow, okay? Food is not in a box. I eat boxed foods, just so we know, like I am balanced, okay? But food is what we grow. Fuel is what we put into our bodies. I have the privilege of occasionally teaching students in a middle school, and during their gym class, they'll have a quarter or a module of health and nutrition. And I'll go in there, and one day, I don't know, God was speaking through me, and I always pray, please speak. I don't even know what I'm saying half the time. And I came up with this analogy that I have used with all of my clients. And it hits home for adults as well as children. You know, but when I would talk to the kids the first time, I said, you know, in about a year or two, you're going to get your license, and you're going to get a car, or you're going to drive a car, and you'll have the privilege of paying for gas, right? And at the gasoline station, there are 3 grades of gas, right? There's the regular, there's the extra regular, and there's the premium. I'm sorry, I'm missing that one, but the premium gas, right? The high test, there's regular, premium, and high test. I said it's the same with food. Right? You can eat that candy bar before you go into your test and not eat breakfast. You're going to get a burst of energy. You're going to get, you know, a sugar high. Your engine's going to go, just like your car is going to go. But at what expense, right? What expense is your engine going to go? How soon thereafter will you need to do maintenance work? How clean is your engine? What is your gas mileage, right? Same is true with food, right? Your fuel that you choose to put into your bodies needs to serve the purpose in which you're trying to achieve, right? And in doing so, you get different results, right? So you can grab that candy bar and you're going to get that burst of energy. You can step it up and maybe have a sandwich, right? And have some good healthy fats on there. And maybe it's roast beef, and I eat meat, so I'm not a vegetarian. But you know, and maybe you have on the side, you have a bag of potato chips, right? And maybe, if we're lucky, you chose an apple or a pear. And then you could also go to the next level and have some healthy, prepared protein. You know, I like steak, I like chicken, I like seafood, okay? I like it because it's God's food. There's no bad food in my teachings, just bad attitudes towards food, right? So you can choose fuel that serves you better, and the car that's getting the high test and the premium gasoline is going to probably have a cleaner engine for longer periods of time, probably will not need the maintenance as often as the car that's getting fueled regularly. But what I tell the kids is, right, they're all 13 and 14 years old, and I think most of us are a little older than that today. And I say, you know, the seeds that you are planting today will impact you in 20, 30, 50 years? And I know that's a hard concept because I can remember being in high school and thinking the year 2000, how old am I going to be? Oh my God, I'm going to be 30, whatever I was. That's really old. But it's so fascinating because so many of these kids are involved in sports or in performance activities, whether it's theater or dance, and they're starting to understand that their choices matter. So they matter to us as well. So when I was a young mom with young babies, I remember reading an article about moms, how it was important for us to take care of ourselves in order to take care of our families, right? And I thought, oh, that's great. That's good. That gives me permission to exercise in the morning because oftentimes I would let that go because, oh my gosh, I got to get the kids here. I got to do this. It was a crazy life. We all have lived them, whether you have children or not. But I want to turn that around a little bit, especially after Hillary speaking. We need to have a healthy body for us. Right? Like my number one goal for me is to live a longevity lifestyle so that I can enjoy my life, okay? What is my life? What brings me joy? Well, my number one joy is my family, okay? I don't want to be a burden to them. I want to be playing pickleball with them every day. I want to be sailing with them. I want to be skiing. I want to be, going on picnics and traveling. I want to travel to see them. I want to be able to drive to Florida if I need to, if I can't get a flight. I want to be able to do those things. I want to do the things that bring me joy. So it's not necessarily, when I read that article, it was about my responsibilities to my children, but our responsibility to us, to ourselves, is even greater because now that I've just learned that I have the power to impact after birthing my children, thank God, because I'm telling you, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, oh my, I was not the person that I am today, and I hope I'm light years ahead better in 20 years from now when I birth my kids. But it's essential. It's essential for us to take time, to make the time and to value our bodies as the temples that they are, okay? I have goosebumps right now. I am just so high by the grace that has been spoken earlier. And I'm in such gratitude because it so aligns with everything that I've been talking about and that I live. So another question I have for all of you that I do want to see a show of hands is how many of you woke up feeling rested this morning? Okay, a decent number. That's great. How many people felt energetic when they walked in the room? How many people needed that second cup of coffee to enter this room so that they felt energetic and felt well rested? Okay, there's a little bit more information. Okay, well, what I suggest to you is that to have better sleep, to have more clarity, to have more energy, to better absorb the nutrition that we're fueling our bodies with, we really need to be focused on what so many researchers are calling our second brain, which is our actual gut health, right? So it's our gut health along with our brain, and quite frankly, I think down the road we're going to find that the gut is really the number one brain, and the one up here is just taking orders from our tummies. And I'll tell you why. Because our gut health is responsible for our physical, our emotional, and our mental well-being, over 90%, right? So our choices of how we fuel will depend on how we feel. That makes perfect sense. So why is it that when we go to Western medicine doctors, and forgive me if anyone is a doctor in this room, because I go to Western medical doctors, why is it that we're constantly putting Band-Aids on? I don't think that I have ever come across one physician that practices Western medicine who's asked me, what are you eating? What are you eating to fuel your body? Tell me about your symptoms, and let's talk about how you got here, okay? And let's figure out the solutions so that we can then help you feel better, right? So that's a lot of what Hillary talks about. And, and I totally believe in the marriage of both Western and Eastern medicine, about Native American cultures. I think about, if we could only get a medical school that taught nutrition on a regular basis, if we could get culinary schools, by the way. There is one nutrition class that is taught in culinary schools, and it's a classroom class. I can't believe that. I'm in the process of being hired to a culinary school, and I'm not announcing it yet because it's not been formalized, so I'm just like, yay, I hope it happens. But anyway, and talking to the director of culinary, I said, my background is healing people with foods. He goes, that sounds great. We don't have anybody who does that here. And he goes, but you've got to teach cooking. And I said, yes, cooking food that heals. That's what I teach. That's what I do. He's like, oh, that would be great. That would be a great addition to our offerings. I'm like, awesome. How empowering is that to be talking to someone who thinks that I have a good idea? I love that. So, but to go back, how do we get to good gut health? Let me go back to how I kind of landed, not necessarily at the podium, but in what I'm doing now. A little history of me, brief, is that when I was 26, my mother was diagnosed at 47 with her first of many cancers, and it was a very aggressive form of breast cancer. At 26, she was diagnosed a month after my grandmother. My grandmother's sister already had breast cancer and had passed. My grandmother's sister, my Aunt Fran, her 2 daughters had breast cancer. And the one that had 2 daughters, both of those daughters had breast cancer. So I'm the last one. I'm like, oh my God, and I'm 26. I went right into therapy. I didn't know what to do with myself. That was my mother's insistence, God bless. And I made a decision, unbeknownst to myself, that I was going to focus on a longevity lifestyle. That wasn't a word that I had. It's only recently surfaced for me. But I made a decision at 26 to be more focused on health, nutrition, and exercise. So, boom, great. Come back 36, or 38 rather, I was diagnosed with lupus 2 years after my youngest daughter was born. And I thought, wow. I was told that I had to make a choice to have more children. I couldn't be on all the medications they want to put me on. And even if I didn't take the meds, we didn't know what the health and well-being of the child would be or for me. And so I had to make that decision, or my husband and I had to. It was easier for him, but it wasn't for me because I envisioned this big family. And then I realized that I was blessed with 2 healthy children. So I made the pivot and I said, okay, let's bring them on. And because it was a scary time and nobody was talking about autoimmune diseases 22 years ago, the way they're talking about them now, or the way we are as a community, I jumped into all the medications. I didn't have any other choices, or so I was told. Now remember, I was longevity lifestyle, 26, but I didn't have the knowledge that I have now, and I didn't have the training. So I'm on all the meds, and my weight skyrockets. I gained 35 pounds, and if anyone hasn't noticed, I'm 5'1". So 35 pounds is a lot of weight for me to carry. And aside from the vanity perspective, which I think I can admit to, it was more the physical interference that I couldn't just sit on the floor and play with my kids. Okay, I had such what's the word I'm looking for? I had such pain in my joints, inflammation. Okay, I could not function, so much so that my mother paid for a babysitter to come every day, Monday through Friday, for 2.5 hours so I could take a nap in the afternoon while my girls were playing, right? So it was a really difficult struggle. And after about 5 or 6 years of all of these medications, maybe a little bit longer, I was saying, this isn't really helping. So I worked with my physicians and weaned me off all of them. Okay, so I am a lupus patient for 22 years, and I take no medication for it. Okay, and my decision at that time was to focus on nutrition and exercise, to manage my flare-ups and to manage my pain. Okay, at 42, I had my first of 2 hip replacements. Each one is replaced, not the same one. Again, a little bit of a physical setback, not what I planned. But I will say that I embrace both of them, and I am so grateful because of the medical world that allows me to walk today. Because if I didn't have these choices, I'd be in a wheelchair and I would have a morphine drip because the pain was horrific, okay? And many of you, if you've had this experience, would probably be in the same boat, right? So grateful for the medical technology. And I have a friend here today who just had one less than 8 months ago or so, and I remember she wanted to talk to me about it, and I'm like, oh, sure, and I had needed to talk to her, and on my way over to talking to Kim, I said, what am I going to tell her? You know, and then I remembered Kim is a fitness instructor, okay? She has a wellness practice. I came to her and said, here's the good news. You are already so fit, you're going to heal quickly. Your body is already ready for this surgery, and it was, and she's healed beautifully, all right? So again, the power of nutrition and healing is, it doesn't get any better than that, right? And then at 54, I did a reset. So already I've decided that nutrition is my method and my medicine. I have gone off to culinary school, and I have been teaching and been certified. I have collected a clientele that has illness, that has seen major recovery or extended life periods because of a change of diet. I have evidence of this. It's amazing, but I have it with my own self. So at 54, I did a reset, and I did an elimination diet. I eliminated sugar, which we all should be eliminating almost on a daily basis, not forever, because there are birthdays and so forth, right? And Christmas cookies, let's be honest, right? But overall, I eliminated sugar, I eliminated dairy, I eliminated soy, I eliminated gluten, and I eliminated alcohol just for 30 days. And remember, I have lupus, and I try to manage my pain through exercise and nutrition. But what I didn't realize is my nutrition wasn't fine-tuned. And around day 16 or 17, I was jumping out of bed like Tigger. I mean, before that, I was Tim Conway shuffling across the stage every morning, okay? And this time, I'm jumping, and I literally have been jumping ever since, okay? Well, not jumping, but you know what I'm saying. But anyway, my point is in pivoting and removing foods and then reintroducing them for the educational purposes to understand how my body works. Okay, how my body feels. Every body is different. Women's bodies are different. I still am amazed by the lack of research on medications and dosages that they've always used men. I mean, but as Hillary said, and I have been a huge proponent, we need men at the table. I wish there were more men here today, right? Because we only will move forward with men as our partners, they're not the villains, you know, we need them as partners. So anyway, so I do this whole reset, and I am a believer. I am a believer for myself. I am a believer of my clients. They see huge changes in their ability to move, and that's what it's really about. You know, we want the good sleep because we want the energy because we want to be able to move. We don't want to be relegated to the couch and watch TV. At least I don't. I don't even, I mean, I own a TV. I think I turn it on 3 times a year. You know, I want that freedom of choice. And the freedom of choice comes from decisions that you make on a daily basis, right? One of the greatest gifts that I was given as a new mom with our pediatrician, who I absolutely loved and adored. He gave me so many pearls of wisdom, but one of them was about feeding. And right about when Madeline had teeth, she was around 1 year old, no longer doing formula because I had just stopped breastfeeding, and Dr. Weinberger, who was just amazing, said, listen, he said, don't worry about getting 4 or 3 square meals into Madeline each day. Worry about it on a cumulative factor, right? Maybe today was the day where she only wanted to eat fruits and vegetables. And tomorrow she's all about chicken, you know, but by the end of the week, did she get all of what she needed? And that is what we have to be looking at. So when you decide to have that birthday cake with a couple of glasses of Prosecco, right? Enjoy it. Enjoy it, because I do. I enjoy it, okay? I already know how I'm going to feel in the morning, and maybe my sleep will be impacted, but I'm enjoying it. And then after that, I don't really need to have it anytime soon because I want to feel my best. I am a person who's known that when I go to a party, a cocktail party, or go out to a bar or go out to dinner, I will usually only have 1 glass of whatever I'm drinking. It's because I want to wake up in the morning, bouncing out like Tigger. I mean, Tigger is my hero, right? So that's how I want to operate. I don't want to give up any days. You know, there are days where sometimes I can't get out of bed, but it's not because of my physical self, it's because of my emotional healing, right? So I have evidence that food matters, right? And I also believe in balance. So, you know, there are so many diets out there, and people will come up to me, and my client will say, well, what do you think of this one? And I'm like, it's not balanced. It's not balanced. And deprivation is not a solution, okay? Because deprivation is punishment. And that is not what it is. God did not make bad food, okay? There is a place for a bag of potato chips. There really is, okay? It's just not on your plate every day, if you can help it, right? So it's really about homeostasis, okay? And homeostasis is a balance, right? It's the balance within all your physical systems, okay, and regulating your systems so that your body can maintain stability. And I think that's what we all strive for. I just met a new gal the other day who's running her first marathon tomorrow. And that is not my dream, okay? I'd love to be the best pickleball player in the world, but I don't put enough time into it, so that's not happening either. But her journey of fueling her body has led her to qualifying. She had to change her diet. She had to change how she managed her food and her intake and her exercise routine. She had a goal. Okay, my goal for all of you is that for you to wake up every day and give yourself permission to not only love your body, but to serve your body, right? To serve your body well with the foods that actually fuel your body, okay? So, you know, what kind of foods are those? What kind of foods are gonna balance your gut? Well, here's a sad story, okay? And we all should know about it. I think we do know about it, I don't know. Our food sources today versus when we all were growing up are very different. Okay, we don't eat seasonally anymore. I can remember I was the one assigned to grocery shop with my mom every Saturday morning, and it was iceberg lettuce or iceberg lettuce, right? You didn't have arugula and all the fancy greens, okay? You had broccoli and cauliflower every other night. That was on my table. And my mom was smart enough to actually buy frozen vegetables instead of canned, except for Lesueur peas. She loved those. I don't know why. But nevertheless, you know, we didn't have the choices that we have today. I don't know that eating strawberries in February that were shipped from South America or from California, if they are growing then, I don't think they are, is really the best food choice for us. And yet we do, I do. But eating seasonally, eating whole foods, you know, there's this whole debate about organic food. Sure, if the whole world got to eat organic food, that would be awesome. But 99% of the world does not get to eat organic food because it's they can't afford it. It's out of reach. So I purposely don't eat organic food because a lot of my clients can't afford it, and I don't want to preach something that they can't afford, okay? So how do we then fuel our bodies if our food sources are contaminated? And they really only started getting contaminated back in 1992 with the invention of glyphosate, which was, you know, out there being sprayed on crops to get rid of all the insects. And then they learned that it dried the crops efficiently and quickly so that we could harvest more. And what's happened now is that we have become susceptible to all of these foods that have glyphosate in them. And I'm not going to go off on a tangent like that, but we have to be aware that our food sources, even from local farmers, aren't as clean as we'd like to think, and we're also not getting all the nutrients that we're getting. So I am a convert to supplements. I'm a convert. I'm a convert to having a super greens energy supplement that has pre and probiotics because we need to begin to heal our guts, right? So there are lots of them out there. But you want to make sure that you find one with a pre and probiotic that actually lasts inside your gut. So many of them, which I'm not sure why they produce these, don't even make it to the gut. They're not alive. You want these enzymes, you want the bacteria to be alive in your gut, your microbiome, so it starts creating harmony. Okay, so for those of us who might have acid reflux, Don't take the Tums. Go invest in a pre and probiotic. Give your tummy a rest. I have a suggestion. I'm happy to talk to you about that afterwards. But absolutely. Get off the Tums. I mean, it has calcium, I know, but you can take other things for calcium. You can eat pre and probiotic foods, but I don't know how practical that is for everybody. I have a jar of low sodium sauerkraut in my refrigerator, and I happen to love sauerkraut, so that works for me. I'm not a kombucha person. I'm just not. I'm not a kefir person. I'm not some of these other things, but I like sauerkraut, but I don't eat it every day. I eat it when I remember, but I always take a pre and probiotic in the morning. And if you're going to drink coffee in the morning, have your pre and probiotic first. Okay, because the coffee, as delicious and as amazing as it smells and it can taste, it's acidic, and we are trying to neutralize our guts and create an alkaline gut, right? So if you start your morning off with 1 or 2 cups of coffee, I don't care if you put cream or not in it, I don't care if you put sugar in it. I do care, but the point is it's the acidic intensity of the coffee that interferes with your happiness quotient in your tummy. Okay, so every time you're eating something, you need to think about balance. You need to think about, how is this serving my gut? How am I going to wake up tomorrow? Am I going to sleep tonight? Are my muscles going to respond to the exercise that I am going to partake in? Am I going to have clarity when I go into that business meeting, or when I meet my friends for lunch, or when I have my grandchildren over? Everything is regulated by what we feed and fuel our bodies. So to live within all the seasons of our lives, it's funny, the one thing that we don't do well as we age as women, because for some reason a lot of us are always thinking about weight, we don't feed ourselves enough protein. Protein should be doubled. I'm pretty convinced that most everybody in this room, not everyone, but most everybody, is not eating enough protein. Protein is how you build muscle. Protein is also how you lose weight, and you need to have the protein inside your body so that you can absorb the nutrients. And most times, if you're only eating protein, you're not going to build the muscles. You need the fiber, you need the complex carbs, you need the fruits and veggies, right, where the fiber comes from, right? So it's about balance. Have your plate, right, and instead of having 2 or 3 ounces of protein, get 6. And while you're snacking, you have some protein, whether it's a handful of nuts with some dried fruit, or a pear, or an apple, or a clementine, because this is seasonal now, right? I'm not saying grab the strawberries. Have some protein with your snacks. Doesn't need to be a lot, but it carries you through, right? We don't want to be hungry. We want to make sure that we have this equilibrium within our sugar, right? And so if we are continually balancing our bodies with our fuel, with protein, the sugar lows and the sugar highs don't exist, okay? So we want to think about what we're eating. Listen, the other day, I decided to make a turkey and Swiss sandwich. I had this beautiful bread I just bought. I don't usually eat gluten, but it looked so yummy. It was seeded, it was yummy. I'm like, I'm gonna try this. And I made that, and I loved it. And then I made 2 pots of bolognese sauce. I'm Italian, what the heck. And I decided I was gonna have bolognese with pasta. Not gluten-free pasta, I was going big. I was gonna have the regular pasta, yummy pasta. And the next day I woke up and I was all inflamed, because gluten doesn't like my body, okay? It was just another affirmation that I know what to do, but I also know that I won't be eating gluten pasta, or pasta with gluten, or bread anytime soon. I enjoyed it. I loved that sandwich that I had. I love that pasta bolognese. That's my meal. If I'm on death row and I've committed murder, I'm not asking you to make it. I will ask for the ingredients and I will make it, but that is my meal. I love that. But I don't eat it every day. I eat it on occasion. And that is really my message, right? It's about occasional eating, no guilt, lots of grace, and fueling your body with foods that serve you, right? So there is this little helpful handout, and I laughed this morning because Mark offered to print them for me, which was awesome. And I realized the number one thing I talk about with my clients is hydration, and it's not on this list. Can you imagine? I'm like, how did that happen? I said to Madeline, I'm like, as I'm hydrating myself, right? And hydration isn't just water, by the way. It's electrolytes. It's vitamins, okay? You see lots of drinks out there that offer these things, but you don't want to use the ones that have sugar. So do your due diligence, right? Look at the ingredients. Don't make yourself crazy, but know the information that you have is power, right? Power to feel better, power to heal yourself, so you can heal the generations before and after. Thank you so much for your time.